So today I thought I was going to come in and have MVP Dak talk, but now I'm talking about the other NFC's quarterback. Let's talk about it.
This would be a backbreaker for Buffalo fans, and this would be the pedigree of championship teams.
There goes Hurts to the end zone, and the Eagles have won it in overtime.
What y'all want me to say?
So hey, if you're new, my name is Keith. I do Black Quarterback Series, and today we're going to talk about the crazy game that happened in Philadelphia with the Eagles and the Bills. And so we're going to get the numbers out the way first, and then we're going to jump into all the craziness of it. So Jalen was 18 for 31, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, 14 carries, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns. And of course, the last touchdown was the biggest one of the game when he ran it in overtime to win the game. And so we're going to start off with some injuries and some stuff that I saw. So they talked about Jalen's knee and his knee management. Now, I know he squats all this, and I know that, but that's something to really look out for. Because you remember he got hurt last year, and he was out a couple of weeks at the end of the season, and it almost possibly cost them home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And it kind of did, but they were good enough to where they was able to get through everybody. And so DeAndre Swift, 80 yards, 14 carries, big run down the sideline to open it up for a touchdown. Devontae was special, 7 receptions, 106 yards and a touchdown. They could not stop the run. Neither team could really stop the run like that when it was time to stop the run. Neither team rushed for 200 yards, which is weird because as much running as that happened in this game, you would think that one of the teams would have rushed for like 250. I'm gonna put the running totals on the side. Neither team rushed for as many yards as you would have thought watching the game. But Josh Allen shows you why I call him Baby Cam Newton. They're just not a winner. And this is something I'm going to say. And I think everybody but Nick Wright. Well, Nick Wright probably started. I'm probably piggybacking off of him. But it doesn't look like the Bills are winners. The Eagles just win games. It don't matter what. They down 10 at halftime. They down 15 at halftime. They down with 2 minutes to go in the fourth. If there's a chance for them to win, they're going to win it. If there's a chance for Josh Allen and them boys to lose, they're going to lose the game, which is weird because they definitely should have won this game, especially with Jason Kelce pretty almost gifting them the game. Shout out to I can't remember his first name. His name's Elliott, the kicker for the Eagles. Almost 60-yard field goal to take it into overtime. And if you look at the footage, Jalen was not impressed because he knew that they most likely would have lost that game if it wasn't for a miracle kick. Now, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I think I'm going for it. I'm keeping my best players on the field. I'm running some concept with AJ and Devontae and just telling them to get open, right? So we can get the field goal, but I don't think you have any timeouts because Kelce kept coming off sides. You're the center. How are you coming off sides? How are you? That just doesn't make sense to me. You hold the ball. You're the one with the ball. Like, what are we doing here? So, very, very big mistakes, but obviously it didn't affect them because they won the game, but they just got to make it harder on themselves. And I can't remember what press conference I saw when I was watching ESPN at the end, but one of the Eagles defensive players said it's time to start talking about Jalen Hurts in that Tom Brady type of conversation where if he got the ball at the end of the game, you know it's going to happen. He's had one slip up in his last 2 years, and it was probably the biggest slip up of his career because it was in the Super Bowl and it was a fumble touchdown that led to them losing the Super Bowl. If they don't do that and everything else stays the same, they're on a tremendous run right now. You're talking about they win 10, 11 games every year. They've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 8 years with 2 different quarterbacks. Like, it will be a tremendous run. But we live in a reality where they didn't do that. But if he doesn't fumble that ball in the Super Bowl, Jalen has a Super Bowl ring on his resume. So they're doing what they got to do to win. Jalen has had more MVP moments this year. Even though he's thrown more interceptions, he's had a lot of MVP moments. So he's doing it against good competition. He's doing it, to me, I think he's doing it against better competition than as we move on to Dak Prescott. I think he's doing it against better competition than Dak Prescott is. And so Dak and then played another cupcake in Washington. Dak was 22 for 32, 331 yards and four touchdowns. So yes, Dak had a good game, and yes, that Dak is playing well, but like against what competition? Against what competition? You know what I mean? Dak is playing teams that are not very good, but you can only play what's in front of you. So if we're going to give it to a quarterback, and just for the narratives, I think Dak could get it, but his strength of schedule just doesn't lend him to be MVP category. But you could also look at Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have MVP numbers. Mahomes doesn't have MVP numbers. So is this the year that another guy gets consideration for the MVP? Because none of the top quarterbacks are having really, really good years. And I'm not going to talk about the Dallas Cowboy game. They ran through Washington. Happy Thanksgiving, blah, blah, blah. I'm not really concerned about that. So we're going to keep it on the MVP. So I think it's Dak. He's not in no order. It's just no order. Dak, Jalen, probably Myles Garrett, and maybe Trevor Lawrence because he has the numbers, and maybe what's our guy that we're going to talk about next? C.J. Stroud. So I think those are some of the names that you're thinking about there. Like I said, Lamar doesn't have the numbers. Neither does Pat have the numbers, but those are probably some of the names that are in the MVP race. If I can find the MVP, too early MVP ballot, I'll put it on the screen. But those are some of the names that I think are in there. And I think Dak has a chance. The only reason I think Dak even has a chance is because he plays for the Cowboys. But it remains to be seen. So we're going to move on to quite possibly the second best game of the year, or the second best game of the week, Jacksonville and Houston. CJ was 26 for 36, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 47 yards and a touchdown. Way more running around than I've seen him do in his career. Now, granted, his career is only about 11 games now, but a lot more running around this week than I thought he would be running around. And that's because Jacksonville made him run. The other Josh Allen had him running around for his life all game. He made it really, really tough for him, just like the Chargers and Khalil Mack did last night. I'm recording this on Monday. So they made it real, real tough on him, and so it shows. So it shows in the way that he was playing, how he was never comfortable, and how he was running and everything. But even still with that, he still threw for 300 yards and had 3 touchdowns total, and was one crazy field goal away from tying it up and going into overtime. And so that's where I'm going to start at, from overtime. These teams were so evenly matched that I'm watching it like, how can I describe this without saying, just keep saying they're evenly matched? Like, they were so evenly matched down the middle. Other than Jacksonville getting caught a couple times in the 2 interceptions, that was just great defense. Great defense by the two guys who made the interceptions. But other than that, it was like straight down the middle. I was looking for stuff negative to say about Trevor Lawrence, but he played well. I'm not going to call a guy a bum if he didn't play well. Like, I'm not going to call a guy a bum if he played well. So, really, really good game. And I said last week this was going to lead the show. Didn't know Jalen was going to go crazy, though. So, shout out to Nico Collins. He was 7 receptions, 104 yards and a touchdown. Just straight down the middle. These are two young guys in the AFC that eventually are going to upset some of the big dogs. We're talking about Pat, Lamar, Joe. Pat, Lamar, Joe, Josh, that ilk of guy. So, but these young guys are coming. And that division is not going to be as easy to win as we thought it would, because now we're talking about this might be one of the best young guy divisions in the league. Trevor, CJ, Anthony Richardson when he comes back off an injury. So, hey, Will Levis maybe if he gets it together, but I don't think Will Levis is as talented as them other 3 guys. But yeah, that division is slowly going to become really, really good and really, really fast. So shout out to CJ. He had another good game. Wasn't his fault that they lost. Just a bad kick. It didn't go his way. It happens like that. And so I recorded earlier. I recorded an earlier video on Thursday talking about Green Bay and Geno, and you'll see that right now. So Green Bay won. And it looks like Jordan Love is turning the corner. So here's his numbers. His numbers will be on the screen. And it looks like the last couple of games, Jordan Love has really started to like. I bet if you ask him, the game has kind of looked like it's slowing down. Like I said a while ago, Detroit is a division opponent, so you get to see them more. So I normally take division games and throw them out because you see them all the time. So of course you're gonna have a better game plan for him and blah blah blah. But he still played well against a really really good Detroit team. Now Detroit had its own mistakes, so they turned the ball over like 3 or 4 times and going for it on your own 25 and then not getting it. I know they've been doing it all year, but you just don't do that when you only down 2 touchdowns. And to me, that might have been the game. You go for it, you don't get it, and they go score. That's really it. That's really it at that point. So I like what I'm seeing from Jordan Love, and I'm gonna give him. I know he's in year 4, but he's been sitting behind Aaron for a while. So this might be year 4, but it's really is year 1. So by this time next year, we'll know if Love is really it or not. And so speaking of really it or not, we can move on to Geno Smith. His numbers will be on the screen as well. Now, Geno's dealing with an injury, so that might be as to why they don't look as crisp on offense anymore. But even if Geno was healthy, they have to find their successor. Geno is not a young man, and he's not going to take you to them places that you want to get. You want to get to. Geno is good. He's a good stopgap for what you want to get to, but you're too good to get a high quality quarterback, and you're not good enough to contend for a Super Bowl. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Green Bay does, or excuse me, what Seattle does. But it looks like they're content with where they're at right now, getting to the playoffs, losing in the first round. Like we said, we want about Russell Wilson, but at least with Russell Wilson, you thought they could win. So we're gonna move on to the Browns. Dumpster fire. I got in my notes dumpster fire on offense. Their offense just looks so inept. It just looks so inept, and it's really not much to say. Russell Wilson came in there and did what they were supposed to do. Russ was 13 for 22, 134 yards, and a touchdown. I was watching Matt Hasselbeck break down the game, and he said something to me that I didn't even really think about watching the game. They literally ran at Myles Garrett. They said, "We're not going to block you. We're just going to make you make decisions." They ran so much read option and so much RPO, and they made Myles think about it way more than he's thought about it in a while. So, and you can see he just looked confused on some of the read options. He would go there, they're going the other way. He'll go with the quarterbacks, he passing it off. Like I've never seen Myles Garrett that flustered in moments that mattered. Like it was a great chess match between Myles Garrett as a great player and Sean Payton, Russ, and the OC as coaches and star quarterback. Like it was great. It was great to see. But they looking like a playoff team now. I don't think they're going to make it because the AFC is stacked. But they look like a playoff team. After getting the doors blown off of them, they're playing really, really good football. They've won the last 4 games. I remember coming on here when I can't remember what week it was, 5 weeks ago, obviously. But I remember saying, I'm not talking about Russ no more. And then they proceed to win their next 5 games. And then even the game they lost after that, they ended up playing really well in it. So I gotta talk about Russ now. So I'm glad. I like Russ. So he's getting it together. Dark horse MVP. He's lost too many games. And he's looked too bad this year to be MVP. But the darkest of dark horses MVP for me. Shout out to Russ. Shout out to Denver and them for going out respectfully, even if you don't make the playoffs. A 500 record is a plus considering where y'all started at. And so the last game of the day, Kansas City. I didn't do much studying for Kansas City. I watched the highlights. I watched the condensed, and I watched a lot of the real game. But the Eagles game was going on, so my time was kind of split. So Kansas City finally scores in the second half. And not only they scored big in the second half. They scored 17 points in the second half. Rashard Reed, 8 receptions, 107 yards, a touchdown. Pat finally turned back into Pat. He looked really good, looked really in control of the game. 27 for 34, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Raiders was up 14, and I thought I was going to have to come on here and make another "What Are We Talking About" video with Pat Mahomes. But We didn't have to because they looked great. They scored 14 and only scored 3 the rest of the game. That's because that Kansas City defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL right now, which is still weird for me to say. So I'm glad to see them. I'm glad to see them back because I want Kansas City and Baltimore in January. I want that. I need that. I need that so bad, y'all. Like I can't tell you how much I want that game. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So check me out if y'all didn't see. I did a reaction video. If the Chicago game ended up being really good, I left the reaction video to that. Or check my community tab. I left something about it. There's something in there about that game because I'm watching it. I'm watching it tonight, and go check out the rest of the videos if you didn't see them. I'll talk to you guys when I see y'all. Peace. That was a